is those groups in our books where they are not necessarily related by blood. They may have found each other just for the purposes of their adventure. So I'm gonna have you introduce yourselves and your books, and then we'll go down the line. I'm gonna start at this end, go down to the end, and then we'll kind of popcorn some questions around. So name and
Hi, I'm Avily Jerome. I'm an author.
That was aggressive. I like it.
It worked though. It worked.
Look at that. We brought another person in like that. Look at that. Oh, hello. Did you check in?
Yes.
Okay, cool. There's only table tents. Were you on this one? You in this one? You can be on this one.
She's like, join us.
Yeah, come join us. Come hang out. All right. So,
All right.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Avily Jerome. I write mostly urban fantasy, contemporary fantasy. Is that it? Yeah. So this is the first in my supernatural urban fantasy series, The Breeding, and this is the first in my action adventure contemporary fantasy. This is Legends Untold. It has dragons.
I'm Tabitha Shipley. I have 11 available books right now, only one chunky one that I brought with me. This is the complete series omnibus, 4 books in one, doubles as a weapon. It's a high fantasy, but no dragons. But I do also have mystery thrillers, and so this one has heavy mystery vibes also. Yeah.
I'm Sonja F. Blanco, and I have a trilogy that's out right now, plus there's a prequel novella. And this is a contemporary fantasy, so it's, today's setting, but most of it takes place in this magical forest. So it is upper YA. There's some romance into it. It's a really coming into power type story, and there's lots of found family in here because this special forest has like 5 different families, and there's this Scooby-Doo gang of characters. So I like to have fun with my writing.
Yes. Yeah, I'm Brent Miller, so local author as well. I write new adult is kind of where I put myself. And right now I have 14 books between these 2 series. So Cursed is 4 books with a bunch of prequel novellas, and then Powerless, the 3rd novel, actually came out yesterday.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you. I was hoping to have my copies here today, but they arrive tomorrow. So that's how it goes. So yeah, quick synopsis, I guess. Cursed is a werewolf story, so definitely some pack dynamics, found family. It's like very character driven. I also really like to write Bildungsroman. I just find the growing up process to be really interesting. So yeah, you get to see him kind of grow up through that. And then Powerless is about somebody born in a world where everyone has superpowers and he doesn't. So there's more of that kind of coming to terms with your identity, but also finding the other people who can help you through that. So that's why I wanted to be on this panel, because found family is very important to me. It's on my table runner.
I just got here. I'm not sure who I am yet. So my name is Jack Mangan. I've basically got known. He knows me very well. Yeah, I basically got known. I'm a local author as well. I got known for a book called Spherical Tommy, which was part of the first wave of podcast novels. There's a bunch of novelists like Scott Sigler and T. Morris, Mur Lafferty, and we were all part of that same kind of crew that came up with that. Spherical Tommy was okay. I've actually trying to publish a new one in 2025. I've updated that. I'm also pretty well known. I did the song "Am I Evil," which Metallica made famous. It's originally a Diamond Head song. I got the rights to that. Wrote a graphic novel. It's in my bag. I don't have it out yet. But that's something that was really exciting. I'm working with the artist on another project. So I guess not like this is top secret and exciting stuff. I'm not really ready to announce yet. But yeah, Am I Evil, the graphic novel, and Spherical Tommy are my 2 things that I'm best known for, and also just being an idiot podcaster for a couple of years. Yeah, that's about it for me.
Love it. All right, so, and you guys can answer, like, you can popcorn it around, whatever.
No rules.
No rules. It's found families, and most of those are pirate related, so yeah. So what does found family really represent to why choose that as a trope in your stories? Yeah, like
It's like that sense of belonging, right? Everybody just like wants that sense of belonging, and sometimes you don't get that from blood, but it's even more so with like the friends that you choose to make your family.
I think I'm lucky in that I grew up in a family that believes in this so much that my parents had like an open door policy. And we had so many people around all the time that were from the neighborhood. And for whatever reason, they didn't have that family. And they were at my house for holidays and they got Christmas gifts and they're just always around. So when it came to writing, it just was natural to me to put that in my stories. Everybody needs that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, you got to find it somewhere else.
I can echo that because my family, when we lived there for like years with COVID, we went back to Yuma, and one of our friends just lived with us, like and
all these people just showing up.
Yeah.
Your toilet paper, we're coming over.
Yeah. So and it was beautiful because we had that connection in my so I've been blessed with a great family, but where found family really matters to me is that not everyone has. And a lot of friends that I have been, had horrible parents and bad situations. And my mom is a big believer of, well, that's my blood. And I'm less like that. To me, it's like, if you're my family, it's because you've earned it. You've earned that title. Like I have a brother who is not my brother, right? And so I kind of just try to convey that in my writing and give, I hope, a little bit of hope to people who maybe don't have that, wonderfully blessed situation that I grew up with. Because I would hope that they can find that belonging somewhere and know that you don't have to have the blood for it. Yeah.
I guess I can. So it's a Gen Xer. We were like the first generation of latchkey kids. Yes, yeah, yeah. Like we were the first generation. We acknowledged ourselves as latchkey kids, and we were the first one. Our like Stephen King was a big pillar of our development. And,
for good or for bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. But I remember in those stories, kind of going, oh yeah, they're acknowledging sometimes families suck. Sometimes the family, the relationships that really matter to you in your formative years, a lot of times. And I'm speaking from my generation. This is true for everybody. I think the relationships that you make, people you become close to when you're a teenager, when you're in your formative years, those sometimes often are more important and more deep, and those are deeper connections, more so than blood family a lot of the times.
Sure. I mean, I think that all of those things are things that resonate with me. I always wanted to be that house where people would just pop over. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. My one son's ex-girlfriend, who we've been broken up with for months, still comes over randomly and walks in my door without knocking and sets my kitchen on fire. So
your house is dramatic. I like it.
But I've got a big family. I come from a big family. I've got 2 adopted siblings. I've got a lot of chosen family myself, and so I always wanted to be that house, and to some extent that has worked. And so like that's kind of natural in my writing then too, is that these are the people that meet the needs that you need at this time, whether it's for the sake of the plot or for the sake of the character arc. That this character needs this person, so this person gets written in. Okay.
So far as your own experience and your own writing, you have your things that you're into for your own characters. But you've mentioned Stephen King. What other found families in books inspired you in even currently in some books that you're like, oh yes, absolutely, or movies, found families that you're like, love these guys. These are what inspire me. This is what I aspire to have my family be like. My found family.
Yeah, I mean it's hard for me. I don't read a lot of books, but I love manga, and My Hero just wrapped up, and it's a little bit different, but the whole Class 1A, with Deku and Bakugo being kind of these enemies, Deku refuses to accept it until they're friends. That's
Yes. Love that dynamic.
yeah. And so it's possibly just because that's what's on my mind, because the last issue came out a couple days ago, but that one definitely, seeing all of them grow up together and become heroes together and support each other was something that was really helped shape Powerless, really. But yeah.
Let's really quickly say, the earliest for me would be the Fellowship.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's an obvious answer, so I'll
No,
take the
that's
obvious one. But
It's
yeah,
only obvious to those of us who are not a new generation.
sure.
That's true. I've never read Lord of the Rings.
Blasphemy.
Crazy.
I'm with you.
You're not
I'm
shaming.
shocked. I wasn't shaming.
Yeah,
I was shocked.
It's surprise.
You're not shaming.
Wow. I
Um,
didn't see that coming.
but point being,
I would
wouldn't
say, I know it's kind of also cliche and obvious, but the Wizard of Oz, right? So you encounter all these people that you don't, it's almost like you can't avoid them. Like, oh, we're all going the same way. I guess we're going together, whether we like it or not. And of course, besides the movie Wizard of Oz, they have so much backstory and so much, like they were just fated to find each other eventually, which is always fun. I like that.
Cool. I mean, a classic example for me would be Peter Pan, like the Lost Boys.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so much fun for that one. It is fun. Yeah. Lord of the Flies, not so much fun. But then you could like go back to pretty much like every cartoon too. Like it's just like all about found family.
And you mentioned Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
Scooby-Doo is absolutely found family.
Yeah.
You just had a random. That's okay. I was gonna bounce over to you and be like, "Would you like to introduce yourself? And would you like to tell us about your favorite classic found family?" Who would like to hear classic found family?
My name's Kat. Hi. My car wouldn't start. That's where we were at. But I thought I'd hear, so everything's good. I mean, the fact that I was 5 minutes late because my car wouldn't start, that I tried to start, 10 minutes after your 10 minutes after. Goes in line with the fact that I'm late. I've apparently got that from my mother because she was late to everything in life. And as I get older, apparently, that's what I am. So other than that, I love writing found families. And my favorite type of found family is like the whole foster kid situation. Like, they come together not because they really like each other or really want to be around each other, but then later everybody is like, dude, you talk about anybody else. You're not talking about this person that's not blood related to me, but somehow is trauma bound to me in this life. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I just like that something at least good comes out of some tragic and traumatic events. I like to see tragic and traumatic, and so it's good to see that there's some examples of where it could go and the support you could have met, even if it doesn't feel like it's been for that. So I like that.
I'm gonna totally bounce right off of the trauma bonding thing with like, why are the found families in your books together? Is it a trauma bond? Or are they just having a fun little jaunt of an adventure?
Mental book.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Like this one is definitely a fun little adventure. They come together because they all kind of have a common goal and they're trying to, follow the quest, as it were. This one is much more, bad stuff happens and we have to work together to figure it out.
I have a little bit of a mix too. I mean, Cursed it's almost just as forced as Blood, right? Because they're werewolves. Your family are the other werewolves, and you can't escape that.
Even if you want to.
Yeah. Garrick tries. This is kind of, I don't know if my hero had some subconscious, but like Garrick tries. He hates Kaylin with a passion, but they're brothers, and he can't fight that. but then some humans come in and stuff, and it's all, but it's all very much like necessity driven. Powerless is, I don't want to like, go too into specifics and make this all about my books, but Powerless is different each book. It's a different narrator, and so it's different families, different everything. And my favorite is the third one because it's really a picture of how the characters have learned from the trauma bonds of the first two to try to build a better family in the third one. So, yeah.
I really tried to do a mix of all the reasons why you might need / want found family. I have a huge cast for this one, so it gave me a chance to really play with it. There are people who thought their families were perfect, and when they're not, they need somebody who's going to understand. There's people who knew right off the bat their families were non-existent and didn't want anything, and it just found them, whether they wanted it or not. There's a very reluctant one who gets dragged along, basically kicking and screaming. He wants nothing to do with any of these people. Why do you keep showing up? So I got a chance to really play with all the reasons why you might have found family in this one, that's why I brought the whole set with me instead of the individual, because it was really fun to do that, I think.
Oh, I'll talk about
Yeah.
So, it's a little bit unique in that the main character suddenly finds herself in this magical forest, so it's a little bit of a bubble, so it's a very small community. So this found family group is mostly kind of based off of age, and so here she comes in as the outsider, and they're trying to figure out who's who kind of in the pecking order. So like there's a shifter that gives her a really hard time at first, but then they end up, spoiler alert, being like good friends later on, and each one of the people in the found family group helps to the overall dynamic and helps that individual main character's arc as well. So there's just all these different layers to it, but it's unique in that it's a small bubble. It's fun. Yeah.
So in the forthcoming book that I'm not out, it's the update Spherical Tommy. I actually have it's a captor situation where the captor is the main character is Tommy, and she's captured by the kind of the son of one of the major antagonists. It's kind of tasks the son and says, you're in charge of keeping an eye on her, and then it's not really a Stockholm syndrome kind of thing. It's more he kind of changes because he doesn't share his parents' beliefs, so he just kind of gets to like the main character more and ends up clumsily helping her and bringing his friends in, and he's kind of a young moron, so like he brings his idiot friends in, and she just kind of shakes her head, but also kind of develops some affection for them as well. So that was fun to do, and that's what I will say. That was not something I had charted out. I'm a terrible outliner, but I do outline, but I didn't. That was not in the outline. I mean, of course it was. Of course it
was. You didn't run away with my outline.
Yeah.
So my story started off with a massacre. So like they're like 10 years off in a massacre and a major war for my book series. So yeah, everybody's bonded through this horrific, horrible thing that they blame the other side, if you will, for, and it forces them to kind of take refuge in the people that can help them along the way, because they're trying to write a stupid mistake type of thing. When you're trying to prove yourself and you're like, oh look, I'm gonna do this thing and it's gonna be great, and they're gonna cheer me, and then you realize, oh crap, I might not be able to go home now. Type of situation that you have to fix, right? And so, the quest starts off with the kind of primary friendship relationship, but also kind of maybe like a little bit of sure if I'll not be back at all type of thing, and I think we're friends, but it's taboo anyway, so let's just not play with that, until our new kind of found family, reluctantly found family, is able to kind of sit in and highlight the reasons that those signals and interacting with one another are all reality. You can't do that without somebody else's perspective, and the family needs love them. So That's how I try to incorporate it, but of course, yes, I think all great relationships start from trauma.
That's saying something.
I mean,
about
how
some
you rely on
deeper
somebody. That's all I'm saying.
That's just why writing is also therapy.
Yeah.
So we've talked in the why all of them are together. There's always a leader in the found family. I want to know about your leader and how they are the leader. Are they elected leader? Like you mentioned, some of them are kind of elected in this family. Are there also elected leaders? What kind of makes that leader the leader of the family? You mentioned the Lost Boys. Pan is the leader of that. Because he's stealing all the. There's
A lot of reasons.
So yeah, what are our leaders of our found families like? Are they the leader because they're the oldest, or are they leader because they're most knowledgeable, or are they being forced into it?
I think if you asked my cast who was the leader, they would all have a different answer.
Oh,
Quite a few of them would claim it was them, and some of the ones who probably could be them would immediately point the finger at somebody else. Which is why, like Brent, my series had a different main character for each book. So by the end of it, I think you'd agree. They all step up when they have to, and happily step back when they're quite done. Yeah, you're all crazy. I'm taking a step back.
I love that one.
Yeah.
So I have in Powerless, there's a clear leader in the first book, and that's because Carson kind of unintentionally finds himself a revolutionary, and he is building up, his crew, as it were, and then that kind of changes as things go on. And in Cursed, that's finding their leader is a 2-book arc. It's a big deal. The second book is actually called Alphas because there are multiple people who think they have a claim to that title. But yeah, it really, Garrick is kind of just the person that they all want to be, even though they don't realize it yet. And he kind of reluctantly takes charge because, he's the one fighting to protect people and to keep their morals, and the current leader, as it were, is more like, they're humans. If they happen to die, that's not my fault, right? So Garrett kind of takes charge because he has to, so they don't hurt people.
So 2 quick answers on the Spherical Tomy book that's coming out. She actually, I make it a point that her goal is to just live a quiet life and not have anybody bother her. She does not want this stuff that's happening, but it's happening to her, and she has to deal with it. So she's kind of collecting people as she's striving towards her goals. So she ends up kind of being the de facto leader, but she would never say, "I'm the leader of this little group." And a lot of it's about her personal journey. Same for the Am I Evil book, which actually I do have now. The story, I mean, if you know the song, the story is, it starts off with, my mother was a witch, she was burned alive, and then basically the song and book about him getting revenge. But in my story, I kind of took it where he was, again, kind of fumbling and didn't really know what he was doing. So he has a mentor who basically takes him under his wing, who's actually also one of the guilty parties. That's where the conflict is. But so that really the leader in that dynamic is a mentor who's setting himself up to be one of the victims, of revenge, of our main character's revenge. But he ends up being the leader just because he's got the experience, and the younger our protagonist is kind of acknowledging that, not at first, but he realizes I can't do this without your help. So that's where that dynamic comes in, which I guess that's also a trauma bond.
Oh, I'll talk about this one. So it is unique, and I don't want to give away spoilers here, but primarily of this little gang, the leader is the main character's brother, and it's because he's just more calm, cool, collected. Other characters can be crazy, like the ones who are more aggressive. I'm sure they think they're the ones in charge, but a lot of them all defer to this one individual because they're usually the calmest, most clearly level-headed. But then as the story progresses and it's that coming into power for the main character, then she starts to take over a little bit more. But it's a really good relationship where a lot of them share duties and none of them are like, trying to outdo the other. They do get along genuinely well.
Okay. So in this series, the main character is very definitely the leader, and there's no question. She's just kind of a take charge, get things done kind of person. So she collects her student gang and gets things done, and everybody does what she tells them to do, and that's just the dynamic. In this one, the main character is also probably the leader, but there is a side character that definitely thinks he's the leader. So but then it's kind of her vision and her passion that everybody's kind of going along with. And even though he's the one who kind of gets things done and gets things rolling because of his position in the group, like his hierarchy in their organization, it's still her vision, her passion that everybody else kind of follows along with.
In mine, my witch series specifically, the main character is definitely the leader, but she's leading people that are also leaders within their own spheres, So there's a little bit of that. Where is leading the leader, and even if this person isn't ready to be my leader, So she's definitely not necessarily ready. So she's not, but she wants it, and she wants it so bad that she doesn't see necessarily at first how the people that are supporting her and the terms of her being the leader, what they're giving up of their own leadership to allow her to go into that slot. So I think it's a really leadership in those family settings and questions type stuff. I think is a really weird spot because that's part of the growth arc usually for your main characters is them being able to get to that leadership spot. So I think it depends on at what point in the book are you asking to lead.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's true.
Yeah.
So that which one could have the time to step back and be like, yeah, so the overseer gets to play the boss, but I eventually have to get first.
I can bounce off a little bit of that, just because leadership as a concept has always really mattered to me, and just with some ways that as a kid, my church had this whole concept of leadership that messed with my head a little bit. And so finding out what that meant was a big deal to me, and I didn't realize it until 3 books into Cursed. I didn't know what I was doing. But really, Cursed in a lot of ways is a dissertation on what it means to lead. And for the first 2 books, you get to see Garrick learn that the hard way and make mistakes and lose people, do things, And then in the 3rd book, there's an interesting dynamic that I just wanted to approach again because of that deep-rooted, and there's a character that he meets who is, he sees her as himself, but, less bold than he is now. And so he then imparts everything he learned, and you get to kind of see him grow from, I have no idea what I'm doing, to I know how to lead, and then teaching that to somebody else so they don't have to make the mistakes he made. And that, I just think that that's an interesting concept for me, but I think it goes into this concept of our themes, like you mentioned, writing is therapy, right? Our themes, we don't, at least for me, I don't even know what my theme is sometimes. And then I get 4 books into a series and I'm like, oh. Yeah.
Or when somebody comes back to you after reading the book, did you know that this was a very deep theme?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did.
Totally on purpose.
Yeah, that
was in my outline.
That was a lot.
In my newest one, my editor sent it back to me. He's like, "Are you aware that you wrote this?" It's like,
Yes.
yes.
100%.
I am now.
The answer is always yes.
Always. So I want to give some of our audience, and we have a lot of audience for if you guys have any questions about found families for these guys or how they develop found families. I know there is at least one found family of interest in this room because it's five. Just saying, if you like pirates, I know some. So,
Personally?
yeah.
Just checking.
Just wondering.
Right.
The captains. I know.
Right, right.
So, I know you guys. So, did you have any questions for our authors, either about found families or about their books or about writing in general?
First, I have to mention that one of the original found families for my generation was the original Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Literally found family out there. That's how good they ended up being. I also wanted to ask, when you talk about trauma, what exactly does that mean? Are you talking about people who have been through the same trauma or have been traumatized at each other's hands?
It does work that way.
Same
too.
or similar, yeah.
All that.
Yeah, there you go.
I think the way I use it, because I also am coming from a behavioral health career background, so I think of it in kind of that true sense of that heightened sense of hormonal heightened, that body heightened when you meet somebody in a specific situation, whether it's the person who's addressing that trauma or the person who's surviving it with you or that person who made it out ahead of you. I think all of those things give you a very unique connection. I can walk into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that creates the kind of quick gel that you need to ingratiate your characters to real readers, real human readers who are going, you don't fall in love with somebody that quick. You do it, you both survived this horrible, horrible tornado together in the same shelter, type of deal.
If you're Han and Leia,
There you go. If you're, real.
right? That's my favorite.
So that's why all Disney movies start off with one of the parents, in a bucket, because then you are immediately trauma invested with the main character who just lost their family member. So it's manipulative, it's emotionally manipulative, but it does the trick. So it's kind of why a lot of us will tend to have either characters that are coming out of trauma and learning about themselves, like healing from said trauma, or trying to avoid dealing with said trauma.
Walking right into it together.
Right. They meet somebody who's gone through something similar, and is in either a place they want to be in or a place they definitely want to avoid. So when you get your reader almost is asking to be trauma bound. Like they're asking you to say, hey, move me enough to make me interested in what's going to happen to this character. So I provide. Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I provide.
one thing that I would add is, and I do not have a behavioral health background, so this is coming from my mind, which is flawed. But we mentioned similar trauma, and that matters, but it doesn't even have to be similar. I think like the fact is this world is broken, and there's a lot of bad stuff that happens, and finding that hope and that connection in somebody, to me, it's like I don't know what you've been through, but I know you've been through something, and you can kind of just lean on each other through even something that you've never experienced, right? And so I guess the way I use trauma bond is maybe a little too broad, because really it comes down to just a bond. Everyone.
I also like to play around with that really strong character who meets that one person who is there when they break. That it's that strong person the whole book. They're going to break. It's a book, right? And they break. Who else is there when you finally break? That's the person that they've seen you at your literal worst, and you are forever bonded to that person. Not because you went through it with them, but because they're the only one who knows how much it broke you. And I had one of those, and it almost broke me to put him in that
Yeah.
situation. But I promise you, he makes it through it. So that was it was hard and also amazing to write somebody that strong who broke that family. Oh, I felt so bad.
I did it anyway.
Oh, I did it anyway.
I think those are some of my best writing actually, is when these characters have these moments of breaking and reassuring each other that they're not alone.
Yeah,
I think that's some of the most powerful.
I think
writing
that's
I do.
found family in a nutshell, right
Yeah.
there.
It really is.
You were broken and at your worst, but you were not alone.
I wrote an entire series for that scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean-
exactly.
It's really good. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
One that I really liked that's recent, actually from a movie, was Max and Furiosa. Because again, he's very self-centered, but they come together. The whole world is trauma, but the way they come together and the way he kind of changes to care and stop being such a self-centered jerk. I know he's supposed to be the hero, but we know. But
Yeah.
I just loved that dynamic. And I'm sorry to go completely left turn. I also thought Lestat and Louis was a beautiful drama film. Of course, Lestat is the author of his drama. But yeah. So,
But aren't we all?
yes, it's true. Yes, very, very deep. Yes.
We bring a lot of our own drama, I think, to the table,
Yes.
which makes us good writers. I don't say it.
We're all broken trauma bonded.
Well, and we're not afraid to kind of go there. And that, I think, is what is really necessary in our found families, whether we're writing them or reading them
Or living them.
or living them. I think many of us do. Like, I can think of people that are not blood related to, that know me better than anybody blood related to me might. So when you get that connection in your story and it's truthful and it's authentic, it really comes through to your audience so that they can connect. Whether you're a big name person or my mom read it. Like people can identify in it when you're being honest about how you're feeling and going and moving through the obstacles of life. Because why else do we read?
All right, all these panels are very bumper to bumper, so it's actually about 45 minutes long, So I'm going to finish this with, where can we find your books and where can we find you next? I'm going to start at the end with Jack and move this way.
Okay. Actually, well, I mean, you can come see me. I don't have Am I Evil released last year. I don't have. It's not available for sale per se through the site. Looking to remedy that in 2025. You can find me mainly Facebook. I've just dipped my toe into Blue Sky, just Jack Mangan, and all those places. I have my website, jackmangan.com. Yeah, 2025. Ask me again another year. But yeah, for now, that's me.
Yeah, all of my socials are some variation of Brent Miller books. So there's a period or a pound, I don't know, but somewhere in there. And then my website's brentmillerbooks.com. I have a table here outside, so I'll be here for a while. And I guess the next big event I have is the Tucson Festival of Books. So if anybody's up in there, and everything's on Amazon if you want to read the books.
So I'm here today too. I'm sharing a booth with Danny Hoots, she has a bunch of books and she does like tea, so Foxcroft Apothecary. So I'm here today, and my next event is going to be the Tempe FanCon in January, and then there's awesome Enemies to Lovers. Anybody going to be on that one in May? There's a big convention in Mesa that's happening in May, and I'll be there for that one. But you can find me online too. My website is just sonjafblanco.com, and you can find all the links there to all my socials. I'm mostly active on Instagram, and you can find me on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, just pretty much anywhere.
TabithaShipleyBooks.com. But I also I'm like the teal colored tent awning thing outside, and I think I'm the only one who has teal, which is weird. So I'm pretty easy to find. It's literally almost that same color. Yeah, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all those fun places too. And I do have all 11 books under the awning, not just the bees.
You can find my books on Amazon or on my website, AvilyJerome.com. They're for sale at Duncan's Books and More, which is out there somewhere. What, 54?
Somewhere in the middle.
Booth 54. It's the good one with all the good books.
Andrea knows.
So all of my books are available there. All of my socials are Avily Jerome, or I think Instagram is Avily Jerome Books. But I'm the only one with my name, so I don't know what my next event
I'm a
is.
hot mess today.
My next event is whatever Jen tells me to show up at.
That's how conferences work.
That's right.
Really how they work. Absolutely. So you can find me at Tabitha Author. I have bookmarks and things about it and little nice scanny thing and you take a picture and say you like my website.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe scanny thing. I like that though.
Appropriately. So, you can find me on my website. My books are on Amazon, Barnes & Noble as well. My recent series with Supernatural serials that was 4 episodes out. The first one is coming out in June, so we're going to do everybody's process and I was finishing a final draft this morning. So, the last episode, for which it will come out in the print version, but it's going to be limited. So, everybody will check out before the final episode. Where I'm going to be next is hopefully my podcast will be dropping. Focused on the first chapter, where I read independent authors' first chapters of whatever they want to get out there. So if you're an independent author and you're wanting to have your first chapter read out to an audience and sit through a quick interview with me, so that was hopefully going to be starting in January. I will be doing as a guest at Festival of Books. I didn't make the deadline to be on a panel, but I'm going to have my own there because I always do it every year, so that'll be probably the next big thing coming out. Usually just one of them. I like it.
All right. Well, thank you guys very, very much. Our next panel is going to be From Cozy to Creepy, Solving the Mystery Genre. And it's going to be right back here. So we're going to let our authors be able to go and take a quick break, breather, and then everybody can come back in here.